Chapter 8. Acceleration points. If you've ever swung on a playground swing, you already intuitively understand the concept of an acceleration point. At first, nothing really happens. Then a slight, barely noticeable movement, but if you hit the rhythm and push at the right moment, you're flying. High, with minimal effort. That's exactly how it works with compound actions. There comes a moment when your system stops growing linearly and starts exploding. That moment is what I call an acceleration point. Everything we've done in the previous chapters, the daily actions, the mindset rewiring, the identity shift, prepares you for these moments. And those moments are what separate the 98% who give up from the 2% who break through. What is an acceleration point? It's the moment when accumulated effort turns into qualitative transformation, like boiling water. Up to 99 dries, it's still just water, but at 100 dries it changes state. It's a leap, a breakthrough, but not by luck, by design. In business, it's the moment when all your previous actions start producing results simultaneously. The market begins to notice you. People begin to talk about you. The system suddenly starts working for you. In life, it could be one unexpected call after hundreds of rejections, one breakthrough week after months of uncertainty, one new contact that opens doors to an entirely different world. Why most people never reach their acceleration point? Because it's invisible. It doesn't come with a warning sign. Hang in there, you're almost there. Quite the opposite. Right before it happens is when the temptation to quit is strongest. I remember working on a project that got zero traction for months. Silence. No feedback. I started to doubt everything. And just when I was about to hit pause, a client reached out. Then another. Then a wave. That was the turning point. And I realized none of my efforts had been wasted. They simply hadn't reached critical mass yet. How to spot and use your acceleration points. 1. Watch for breakthrough signals, unexpected opportunities, new requests, fresh connections. Stay alert to what starts coming your way. 2. Strengthen your foundation before liftoff. Just like a rocket, your system needs to be stable before launch. This means habits, team structure, and inner readiness. 3. Don't slow down on the final stretch. The heaviest load is right before the finish line. This is the ultimate test of resolve. 4. Push harder when most people quit. Ironically, the moment of deepest despair is often the closest to your breakthrough. That's your signal, not to stop, but to double down. A personal insight. During the darkest moments of my life, when it felt like everything was falling apart, I taught myself to think differently. Maybe this isn't the end. Maybe this is just before the jump. And I clung to that thought, because over and over, life proved it right. If you don't quit, everything starts shifting. I saw it in successful businesses, in strong relationships, in sports, in deep personal transformations. Every story had an acceleration point, and it was always hiding right behind a wall of doubt. Conclusion. Acceleration points are a reward for consistency, for staying loyal to the process, even when there's no applause, no likes, no visible results. They're not magic. They're the natural consequence of the right formula applied over time. In a world obsessed with fast wins and viral success, the real winner isn't the one who starts with fire. It's the one who stays on the path when the fire fades and the crowd disappears. Preparing for your acceleration points. That's a core part of your success operating system. How to identify the one action that creates a 100x return. I often ask myself one simple, yet incredibly powerful question. What is the one action that could change everything? Not 10, not 100, just one. Because in the game of success, the winners aren't the ones who do everything. They're the ones who do the one thing that matters most, with focus, consistency, and force. The law of asymmetric action. In the world of results, there's no such thing as perfect symmetry. Not all actions yield equal outcomes. Some steps act like a spark that triggers a chain reaction. They're like a lever. Apply a little pressure, get massive results. I call these 100x actions, and that's not a metaphor. It's a real mental model I've seen used by millionaires and high performers, and I built it into my own life. One strategic connection, dozens of contracts, one successful product, row scalable business, one deep insight, row transformation of your entire operating model. How to discover your own 100x action. Here's a formula that works every time. 1. Stop and analyze your effectiveness. Ask yourself, which of my actions actually generate results? Which ones just create the illusion of productivity? 2. Identify the area with scaling potential. Look for the part of your work that can be multiplied, delegated, or automated. Millionaires don't multiply actions, they multiply impact per action. 3. Look through the lens of time. Which action today will pay dividends not only now, but in 3 to 5 years? Time is the ultimate multiplier that reveals the true value of a decision. 4. Use the 80-20 rule. In reverse, don't waste time optimizing the 80% that barely matters. Instead, eliminate it. Keep the top 1 to ensure highest impact moves, and then choose the one, the main one. Examples of 100x actions. Entrepreneur, create a product with built-in virality instead of dumping cash into ads. Author, write a book that sells the next one for you instead of chasing each new launch. Manager, hire a key player who builds the team for you. Dreamer, start doing, not planning another year. In my own life, my 100x action was creating a personal success operating system, not just a strategy, but a complete mental framework for thinking, filtering, and deciding. It's what I'm sharing with you through this book. That single decision changed
changed everything. I stopped chasing everything that moved. I became deeply focused, and most importantly, I began to see the hidden levers of real influence. Conclusion: your path to success isn't a 1,000-step marathon. It's a precise strike at the weakest point of the wall you're trying to break through. One nail in the right place, one step at the right moment, one action that multiplies all the rest. That's the strategy of millionaires. Not running faster, but pressing harder, exactly where it matters. The levers of change: habits, actions, environment. Sometimes we feel stuck. We read the books, set the goals, even start taking action, and yet we end up back at square one. Why? Because we're fighting symptoms, not the root cause. Your success operating system won't shift unless your environment, your habits, and the tiny micro decisions you make every day change first. In this section, we'll dive into the true levers of transformation, not revolutions, but evolution. The kind that builds a new version of you, quietly, consistently, without burnout or force, powered by an environment that pulls you upward. Lever number spride: habits, your foundation or your trap. A habit is a program that runs when you're not thinking, and it's either your greatest ally or your silent enemy. When I started working on my results, I realized something unsettling. Most of my decisions were unconscious. I'd open my phone, and suddenly I was deep in a feed. I'd eat, and not even notice what or how. I'd work, but had no idea where the hours went. My breakthrough didn't come from forcing myself to change, but from changing my habits. Instead of push harder, hang in there, force it, I created rituals: quick planning first thing in the morning, 15 minutes of reading before bed, no social media before 11 a.m. These small shifts completely changed my focus, energy, and productivity. And the best part? I didn't need willpower anymore. My habits worked for me. Millionaires don't rely on motivation. They engineer their environment and habits so that motivation becomes irrelevant. Lever 2, actions. Tiny moves, massive results. Imagine this: grow just 1% per day, and in a year, you'll grow 37x. But here's the real question: what exactly are you growing? Most people start with the question, what should I do? But I challenge you to ask a better one. What action will create the most long-term value? It could be one daily call to a potential client, one paragraph of the book you're writing every evening, one thoughtful compliment to your partner that shifts the energy in your relationship. These are your action levers. They're small, but multiplied by consistency and time, they create explosive results. Don't wait for a breakthrough. Build the soil where the breakthrough can grow. Lever starter: environment, your strongest force or greatest danger. I once read a sentence that both broke me and healed me. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. I looked around and realized I was surrounded by people who were either doubting or merely surviving. No one who was growing, no one who was reaching higher, and without realizing it, I was sinking to their rhythm. I made one of the hardest yet wisest decisions of my life. I upgraded my environment. I began to cut off toxic connections, surround myself with people who think big, even passively, listen to interviews with those who had already reached the top. It rewired me, not because they taught me directly, but because their mindset became my new normal. Summary: you don't always need to change your life to change your life. Often, it's enough to shift just 3 things. 1. Your habits, the autopilot systems that run your days. 2. Your actions, the repeated moves that accumulate over time. 3. Your environment, the people and places that either fuel or drain you. These 3 levers are your control panel for the future, and the panel is already in your hands. The only question left is, are you ready to press forward?